I'm Tim of Govberg, and welcome to the world of Jaeger-LeCoultre. Today, I'll be your guide to the proper usage, care, and maintenance of your Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Ultra Thin Moon in white gold. Now, this is an automatic winding timepiece that can nevertheless be manually wound should it run down by taking the crown in the first position flush to the case and turning it 20 to 30 times in a clockwise direction. You'll know the watch is operating because the seconds hand will begin to advance. Now, at this point, you can simply set the moon phase, set the date, set the time, put it on the wrist, and the natural course of kinetic action on the wrist with the case back winding mass will ensure that the watch gradually winds itself completely. But should you wish to wind the automatic caliber to its maximum 43-hour power reserve, simply continue turning in a clockwise direction. Due to the bridle style mainspring, which slips to relieve excess tension, you cannot accidentally overwind this timepiece. Rather, listen for the click or tick of the bridle slipping as your cue that the watch is fully wound. Now, the watch has a number of refinements that allow for more precise setting of its indications, the first of which is stop seconds. Stop seconds is the outermost position of the crown. It's also known as hacking. It stops the beat of the balance on the case back, halting the balance wheel and arresting the seconds hand as well as hours and minutes. Now you can synchronize the watch precisely against a reference time. The best way to do this is to find an online atomic clock and then stop the seconds hand at 12. Advance the minute hand to the next nearest minute compared to your reference and wait for the reference to catch up to the very second until it matches the time you've set on your watch. Then push the crown back in. You've synchronized your watch to a reference time. Now, there are two other indications that can be set using quick set functions: the moon phase at 6 o'clock and the radial date. The pusher correctors on the flanks of the case, 4 o'clock controlling the radial date, 8 o'clock controlling the moon phase, can be actuated using the quick change tool included in the boxed accessory set for your watch. Now, there are some handling restrictions. You don't want to set these indications during the changeover periods. So always take note, the date changeover period is between 8:30 p.m. and 3:30 a.m. So don't change the date using the pusher corrector from 8:30 p.m. to 3:30 a.m., as this can cause damage to the movement while it is changing over its own indication. When it's changing itself, don't manually change it. The date and the moon phase should generally be set in sync by advancing the watch through the changeover of the date at midnight, out of the danger zone, and to 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., you can, without any crisis of conscience or hazard to the movement, use the quick set for the date and the quick set for the moon phase. To set the moon phase precisely, because it does have very small increments over its 29.5-day lifespan, it's best to center the moon visually between the two flanks of the moon phase display so you have a full moon. Then go to a reference online that shows the current lunar phase and look at the number of days past the full moon, and then precisely actuate the pusher adjuster at 8 o'clock to account for that number of pushes or that number of days. This way, you can precisely sync your moon phase rather than attempting to do it visually, which can be difficult. Now, in terms of hazards, there are three principal ones: water, magnetism, and shock. Water is the greatest threat to your watch. Now, you can see leather is a natural porous material, so that this watch is water resistant. Leather never is. Be sure to put the watch on a water resistant strap prior to exposure to moisture, as leather will rapidly degrade in the presence of moisture. Moreover, it's important to note that you can help avoid accidental drowning. Do not use the crown for setting or winding. Keep the case flank pusher adjusters disused whenever the watch is submerged or even when there's water on the case, as using these functions with water on the case can bypass the seals and introduce water to the interior of the watch to catastrophic effects. Now, water resistance is also not a static feature of your watch. The farther it goes from a service or original factory manufacturer, the more seals will age and lubricants will dry, reducing the hermeticity of the watch. Therefore, Jaeger-LeCoultre recommends minimally every 12 months having the watch water tested at an authorized service center to ensure that factory-rated hermeticity is intact. And finally, this watch, like all Jaeger-LeCoultre timepieces, features an engraved caseback indication of its water resistance level. Here, 5 bar or 50 meters static test. So that's sufficient for splashing, rain exposure, and surface exposure to water, but not for more intensive diving activities. This watch is principally for water contact at the surface or above the surface. Magnetism is a threat to a watch because it is an insidious threat. It is hidden but ubiquitous. Its effect is to magnetize the ferrous metal hairspring at the center of your balance, the heartbeat of your watch. Magnetism is found everywhere, in the closure of wallets and purses, refrigerator doors, speakers, subwoofers, MRI equipment, and high-powered wiring looms. And when a watch has been magnetized, it will run erratically, gaining time, losing time. If you suspect your hairspring has become magnetized, take the watch to an authorized Jaeger-LeCoultre service center where specialized equipment is available to quickly and easily demagnetize your watch. Shock and concussion, however, present more permanent threats to your watch, and sufficient shock or concussion can damage the movement such that it no longer advances. Now, activities that involve sufficient concussion to damage your watch include riding ATVs, snowmobiles, or mountain bikes, tennis, batting, and golf, or firearms marksmanship, and Jaeger-LeCoultre recommends disuse of the watch during these activities to protect your fine mechanical movement. And likewise, every fine mechanical movement ultimately requires a full service. Jaeger-LeCoultre recommends minimally every 2 to 2.5 years having your watch serviced. This will involve cosmetic restoration of the case, restoration of the watertight integrity of your watch, as well as cleaning, oiling, and re-regulation of the movement. This should be performed exclusively at a factory-authorized service center or the factory, as these agencies solely have access to trained personnel, original factory replacement parts, and specialized equipment to protect the value of your watch as an investment and as an instrument. Moreover, only these agencies are able to back all work and labor invested with an original factory service warranty. Finally, text, call, or email our experts at govbergwatches.com, and they'll be happy to walk you through the proper use and care of this or any Jaeger-LeCoultre fine timepiece.